What up? You are listening to the Gopher Broke podcast. We've got a whole lot to talk about, including some Olympic Gophers, some Gopher football talk, and then we're going to get into our new segments. We're talking the pro sports segment of the day and the Minnesota draft of the day. So definitely tap in and let's get it. What up? You are listening to the Gopher Broke podcast. It is Kane, Rob, and Tristyn Spann-Ford coming at you in the off season, talking Gophers once a week, every week. And here this week, we are here to talk about some Gophers that won some medals. We're going to talk about some of the things on the schedule this season that maybe stand out to us. And then we are going to move on to our two new segments in the pro sports segment of the day, which I'm going to let you know is Ant versus KG. We're going to get into some debates and what could be what in that one. And then we're going to do our Minnesota draft of the day, which is going to be Minnesota sports icons. So sit back, relax, hit subscribe over on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Tell your fellow Minnesotans where they can find us at the Gopher Broke podcast, because we are doing this all off season before we get back to Gophers football talk every week once we hit that July-August time frame. But we got some time to kill, and we're going to have some fun with it. We'll still have Gophers. We'll still have Minnesota focus. We're going to have a good time. But Tristyn Spann-Ford, how you doing, my boy?
Wonderful. Feeling good. The Olympics are over, and I always get that like weird, like the Olympic hangover, where it's like the Olympics are over now, and I didn't watch a single second except a few hockey games, and I'm like, I could go for a little bit more Olympics, I think, now, just because there's no sports on. Like, we're in a weird time. Basketball's kind of ramping up, but it's weird.
Yeah, dude, I was the opposite of you. I was tapped in these Olympics. Anytime there was downtime in our household, we had the Olympics up on the screen. We didn't care what it was, as long as there was some USA something. We were watching and tapped in. I watched more skeleton than I had ever thought I would ever watch in my lifetime. I watched curling. I watched hockey. I watched it all. And speaking of hockey, we had to represent
USA.
Both squads got the gold medal. Both games were epic. Both had Minnesota players coming home with the gold. So shout out to the former Gophers bringing home medals from the Winter Olympics. In women's hockey, we had Lee Stecklein, Kelly Panic, Grace Zumwinkle, Abby Murphy, the current Gopher, and then, of course, the queen herself, Taylor Heisey, who had I call it a full court dime because I think of it in basketball terms. I know they play on the ice. It's not a court, whatever. But she had a full court dime that Nikola Jokic would have been jealous of. I mean, it was chef's kiss for the gold in overtime. And then the Megan Kelly, I believe, was the one who put the goal in. Whew, that was filthy. Then on the flip side, you also have the men's hockey team bringing home the gold in overtime. We had to hang on all the way into the extra period in both cases, had us holding our breath over here. But Brock Favorite, Jackson McComb both get into gold. And then actual former Gopher as well, Eric Haula getting a bronze medal with Team Finland. So shout out to all the Gophers getting medals.
I love that. Yeah, we tapped in. I tapped in. I didn't watch the beginning of the men's game. I woke up, saw we were up 1, but I put a bet on them the night before. So I was dialed as soon as I woke up and finished out that game, and it was electric. I don't think that's how every Olympic gold medal game has to be. It was awesome. It wasn't the dream team, or what do they call the Miracle on Ice? It wasn't Miracle on Ice, but because we just dominated everyone else. But like USA, Canada, what more could you ask for? It was awesome.
Yeah, dog. The Canadians are a little bit salty
Oh
out
my,
here in these streets. I don't know if you've seen all that, but they're a little bit salty out here in these
that's because
streets.
it's all they
There was
have.
someone,
It's all they have, and we took it from them.
they were short, right? And we
It's
took
us
it.
now.
I mean, we're the
Sorry.
villains. We're the villains. Somebody posted and said the rooting interests in the gold medal game, and it showed every other country in the entire on Earth. It was red for Canada, and then it was blue for the United
Hey,
States.
that's
And I was like, you know what? We'll be the villains in this case. I get it.
mhm.
I mean, with all the things outside of sports happening in the world, I can understand why some might see it as villains, but on the ice and on the sports, I am always rocking with the US of A. So it's really cool to kind of see them get it done, see the first gold medal in men's hockey in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But then also to be tapped in with the women's team, they were balling out. There were a lot of unique names that I'm far more invested in on the women's teams that I will definitely be keeping track of as they move forward. So, I mean, it was really cool to see it all come together and see golds happen in both those cases. I also want to shout out other Gophers. We had other Gophers on Team Finland, Czechia, and Sweden on the women's side of things. And then we also had 3 Gophers on the women's curling team that finished 4th, and 1 Gopher on the men's curling team that finished 5th. So shouts out to
Oh
all
yeah.
the Gophers that participated in the Olympics, rocking Minnesota. Definitely appreciate that. Now, look, I got to bring up one Canadian tweet before we move on. There was some dude, JD Bunkus. Now, maybe he is known well in the hockey spaces and what have you. I can tell you because I'm not tapped in like that in hockey. But let me tell you, he said in January 4th of 2023, okay? Somebody went and pulled the
Okay.
receipts. Somebody pulled the receipts out here. They said, hold up, it just switched on me. Where'd it go? Here we go. All right, JD Bunkus said, no greater American hockey tradition than losing to Canada and making excuses for being poor sports about it. I was like, damn. Tune in 3 years later, talking about the Olympics after the gold medal game. He says, honestly, same person, same picture, by the way. Honestly, if you're an American celebrating that win, you're a casual who doesn't know puck. Totally fine. Grow the game. Okay, dog, you want to talk about
It's a cope.
sportsmanship and talk about being poor sports about
It's
it.
a cope.
My man.
I get it. I get it. Look, if you were to measure, if every game was won by which team just played better and not the score at the end of the game, maybe Canada wins that. But that's not how competition in sport works, buddy. Sometimes the team that didn't play as well still wins. That's just called sports. So you,
If that was how
yeah,
if that was how things worked out, the Vikings would have some Super Bowls
exactly,
right now.
exactly.
So
So
sorry,
I'm
that's just
sorry.
not how it happened.
Just sorry. Just do. I don't know what else to
Oh
say. Sorry,
no.
we won. We the score was us at the end of the game. That's just how sports work. So
In both of them. The score was us in end of both of those hockey games, so appreciate it. All right, we're moving on. We're going to talk some Gophers talk before we get to our new segments. And Tristyn has no idea what I'm about to
nope.
say here. He is like living on the edge. But we're going to look at the schedule. I have 4 main questions that I want both of us to answer here. And this is towards Gophers football for the fans that are like, wait, Gophers what? Gophers what?
Yeah.
This is a Gophers football podcast. Now, it's slow times in Gophers football right now in the news. So we're having fun with it all. But they're all scheduled questions. The first one I have for you is, who do you see as the most difficult game on the schedule this year? Now, that could be due to placement of where the game is. That could be just the team in general. How are you feeling on the most difficult game for Minnesota heading into the 2026 year?
Okay, there's an obvious one on there, but I don't think that's the most difficult game. And it makes me say, I'm just trying to look at the schedule. Like he said, I did not know this question was coming. Okay. I'm going to say Washington. Now, I know it's early.
Okay.
It's early in the season. It's very early, and really, like, realistically, you should win those first 3 games, and 4-1 or 3-1 isn't that bad of a record going into week 5. But Indiana's down there a ways, and I think you can chalk up the at Indiana to a loss either way. So yes, if you're speaking on just strictly the hardest game to win, that is the hardest one. But Washington traveling West Coast, which we proved we apparently cannot do this year or last year.
We couldn't
Yes.
travel at all. It didn't
Yeah,
matter
literally
what
didn't
coast.
matter where we were going. But first away game of the year, that is going to be the biggest test, I think, to see where the season is going to go.
Yeah, Washington's home field advantage is no joke. I actually was anticipating you were going to say a different game, and Washington was going to probably be my pick. So I'm going to pivot on the fly here. Indiana was obviously an obvious choice going on the road. They just won the national championship. I do think, who knows, maybe it's not the most difficult. I think it's going to be tough no matter what, because Kurt Cignetti's going to have his boys right, especially at home. But they've got a ton of changes happening. They're losing a ton of dudes to the NFL. They're losing the number 1 draft pick in Heisman quarterback. So, like, they could have some ups and downs. Now, do I anticipate they'll probably be a playoff team? Probably. But I think it might not be as hard as some would say. I still think it's one of the most difficult, but when I'm talking about like where it falls in the schedule and all of that, I actually think it could be, aside from Washington, I think it could be Iowa. And look, we've only won once against Iowa in the last however many years, 10 years, 9 years. And then you're talking about, you're coming off of hopefully a win at Purdue the game before, and you can't overlook to the Indiana game in your next road trip. And you've got Iowa at home, and we know how much we hate Iowa. We know how big that rivalry is to us, and it's time to get off the bench. It's time to get in the W column. And I just feel like Iowa's going to come to play. Iowa's going to be ready. Now, Iowa doesn't have a quarterback right now in my eyes. They don't have someone that I look at and I'm like, dang. But if we're being honest, 9 times out of 10, they don't have a quarterback.
I was about to say, the guy they brought in. Sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, the guy they brought in this year was supposed to be a passing, air threat to Iowa. What are we going to do? And they did not use him as such. So it doesn't matter.
No, he still balled out with them wheels.
Absolutely.
Though. But
absolutely.
I want to say Iowa, aside from the obvious Indiana, I just didn't want to go there. I think Iowa might be the most difficult game on the schedule away from your Washington pick. I think that was a great one as well. All right, second question.
Is Iowa going to be a homecoming
game? Gophers, the Iowa game, I feel like it's got to be, which, again.
It's tough. I'm looking at the schedule here. I don't know when else you do it. I mean, other maybe Michigan?
You could do it early at Michigan or versus Michigan, coming off of the Seattle game or the Washington game.
Yeah.
You could do it there.
I think Iowa's going to end up being our homecoming. Because, I mean, unless you go UCLA, but that's so late.
That is very late. November, that's a cold homecoming. I think it's going to be Iowa, and you just hope that you're fired up. Now, if you if you also look at it, I don't know how they'll do it. So usually Goldie does his Halloween thing, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Halloween, we play on Halloween, but that's the at Indiana game. So do we do it a week early or do we do it a week late? I would guess a week early because it's still in October, which would also fall on Iowa. So do we get the Goldie Halloween plus the homecoming, having Iowa coming in? Like, just turn up all the vibes in hopes to get a dub versus Iowa.
I like that energy. I mean, it sounds like a plan. Let's just do it.
All right. Now let's make it line up with every key Gophers bye week in the NFL too, and let all them boys come over. We're going to need all the help. But let's move on to the second question. Who do you see as a potential big upset for Minnesota this year on the Minnesota getting the upset in a win?
I have a good one, and it's overzealous, but I don't want Penn State. I really, really think if everything's going well and we have maybe 2 losses to Iowa and Indiana, Washington, anything could happen to. I think we could beat a rebuilding Penn State. As of right now, because who knows we don't know what they're going to look like. It's hard to know what they're going to look like.
They're going to look like Iowa State. That's what they're going to look like.
And Iowa State is a good squad, and like they're going to bring in recruits, but you never know. At Penn State, how electric would that be? That'd be fun. That's probably going to be a
I'm going to
whiteout.
flip it. I'm going to say the Michigan game. I
Mm.
think the Michigan game could be an upset. It's at home. Hopefully, you're riding high because you just upset Washington on the road. And then you're coming back home and you're like, we're going to keep this train rolling. Bryce Underwood, good luck against our defensive line. You're going to have to pass the ball, my boy. And then let's prove that you got the wide receivers to do
Yep.
it. Also, Michigan's losing a ton of defensive pieces again. Who knows what the offensive line is going to look like? So, I think that could be a game that people look at it and they see Michigan, and Michigan's got a new head coach. The new head coach was good at
Mm-hmm.
Utah, but he wasn't amazing. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
He wasn't Ryan Day out there only getting like 2 losses in his entire career and stuff like that. So I feel like the Michigan game at home for the Gophers could be a spot where we're like, look, this isn't the same old, same old. We want this jug back and we are ready.
No, I like that pick too. That was probably the next team that I was going to pick on there.
All right, 2 more questions on the Gopher schedule front before we move on to our pro basketball talk with Ant versus KG. The next question I've got for you is, what would the biggest trap game, in your opinion, be for the Gophers in 2026?
So, I mean, now that I'm looking at it again, it definitely could be Penn State. But I guess a trap game wouldn't be. Actually, it's Nebraska. It's Northwestern. Whether we win or lose to Penn State, we could be going into Northwestern, and who knows how their season looks, because they're also who knows, and they could be 2-10, and we still might have to put up a dogfight with them, and we don't get up for Northwestern, we see what happens. So
Twice. We saw what happened twice.
times in a row.
Okay. I am so over it. I think Northwestern is definitely the biggest trap game, especially because it's before Wisconsin week. And you know, we're always tapped in for Wisconsin. But like, we can't take Northwestern lightly anymore. Now, we lost the last 2 on a road and a neutral. So you're at home this year. Hopefully, you can put it together. But PJ, you got to get a dub against Northwestern. Otherwise, we're going to start asking questions like, can we beat them? Like we did against Bielema with Illinois for so many years. And like people are still asking about Iowa. We can't turn Northwestern into that. Okay, PJ, we got to get this right.
Oh yeah, we cannot. I do not want to look back in 5 years and be like, wow, this Northwestern Minnesota rivalry is something, huh? You never know when these 2 teams are going to be. We cannot have that. We need to right this ship now so it doesn't get carried away.
I agree. The other spot that I could see being one is the UCLA game. New head coach coming from a program that did really well last year, bringing a lot of his players with him to LA. But you're coming off of the Indiana game before the Penn State game. Like you literally, PJ's mantra for the Gophers is we're looking to go 1-0 in the whatever championship week. You have to live by that mantra to its core this season, because it's going to get off the handles quickly if you don't. You go Washington, Michigan, Purdue, Iowa, Indiana, UCLA, Penn State, Northwestern, Wisconsin. You could lose any of those games in the Big Ten schedule. Maybe not Purdue. I'm still not buying in on Purdue. Fine. But everything else you could lose. And if you only beat Purdue and you lose the other Big Ten games, which I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying you could if you overlook anybody, then you become Purdue. And we don't want those problems. We don't want those problems. So the Gophers really got to lock into that 1-0 in the this week championship mindset. They have to buy into it to its fullest.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, the schedule is I keep going back and forth. Every time I open it up and look at it, I have a different emotion of whether I'm super concerned or I get kind of confident with it. So,
yep. All right, the final schedule question I have for you before we move on to our pro sports segment is the non-conference a clean sweep? Is it an easy clean sweep this year? Is the Mississippi State game a game that you look at and you're like, we could? Or do you think it's like, dog, we're going 3-0 to start the year no matter what?
I'm looking at it as 3-0 no matter what. I really am. Mississippi State is intriguing and going to be fun, but I think that will be I think when that game's over, there's going to be a lot of Big Ten SEC talk. You know, like, oh, the Big Ten does own the SEC. Like, they can't. These two leagues don't match up. The Big Ten is a different brand of football, and plus, it's no, it's pretty early in the year. It doesn't matter. But yeah,
I tend to agree. Last year, Mississippi State went 5-8. They even lost their bowl game to Wake Forest. They shouldn't have been in a bowl game, to be honest with you, because they were 5-7. But it happens. It's happened to us before too, so I can't act like it hasn't. Their only wins on the year: Southern Miss, Alcorn State, Northern Illinois, Arkansas was their only SEC win, and then they did have a number 12, a win versus number 12 Arizona State. But I mean, Arizona State showed they really weren't great last year, so it's hard to really get a feel on if they upset in that game or not. They held Leavitt. Leavitt played in that game, and he only had 82 passing yards, so rough game for Arizona State overall. So you'd hope that Minnesota doesn't fall into that type of trap, because that was a home game for Mississippi State, so a little bit different. Mississippi State will be on the road, so I think that plays in Minnesota's favor. But I'm not going to act like they were complete scrubs. I mean, they took Tennessee to overtime last year. They took Texas to overtime last year. So like in the right weeks, they can be high flying. So the Gophers can't look at it like we are right now of like, oh, it's clean sweep easy. Like they are going to place a challenge. I mean, you look at the scoring they did last year. Once they hit the SEC schedule, they put up 34 points, 9 points, bad, 21 points, 38 points, 35 points, 21 points, 27 points. Like they were scoring points last year. So the defense is going to have to come to play.
I think I'm confident. I like where we have them. I mean, obviously we'd have them early because it's a non-conference, but having them that early in September is going to be awesome because like the environment in the stadium, everyone's still excited about the season. Everyone's going to show up for, I mean, that's going to be they're going to sell a lot of tickets for that game. Just having it be an SEC school. Like it's going to be warm. Energy is so high before it gets cold. So that's where I'm pretty confident in it. Like I think we've underrated home environment, I think. I mean, obviously they play in the SEC, so they know all about brutal environments, but here we go.
I feel you. All right. Well, we'll have more Gophers talk this offseason as well, especially as the spring gets kicked off. The Gophers are looking to have a spring game this year. Hopefully it's played in the stadium outside as long as the weather holds. That'll also be their diaper drive. And you can create the oars for them to line up down the walkway going to the stadium for each of their home games. So be sure to tap in there and we will keep you posted as upcoming information comes out for that. But let's move on to our pro sports segment of the day, which is the real question. Anthony Edwards is a bad man. He's got the whole state of Minnesota riled up. We talked about Bring Ya Ass last week from Ant. We talked about kind of the excitement of the Timberwolves over the last year and a half or so now when we've come on the podcast. Obviously, we're a Gophers podcast, but we've been talking about the Timberwolves. I'm a big Celtics fan, but I definitely pull for the Timberwolves a ton. Still a fan of them. Unless they play Boston, then I got to tap out for a second. But either way, I got to know, Tristyn, are you on the side of Anthony Edwards being the greatest Timberwolf, or are you still locked in with KG right now?
Look, it's a difficult question because KG has established himself. But I think if you look at the body of work in a Timberwolves jersey, in just a Timberwolves jersey, it is very close. And I love KG to death. But I think the charisma Anthony Edwards has, I think he might surpass, if not have already surpassed KG.
All right, dog. Let's go to war then. Let's go to war because KG is my GOAT. KG is my GOAT, and I am still KG is at the forefront. And you can be Team Ant. So we're going to go back and forth here then. What is your case for Anthony Edwards being on top of Kevin Garnett?
Okay. Does he already have more playoff appearances in a Timberwolves jersey? That's where I'm not going to let this argument leak into KG had an MVP with the Timberwolves, but he didn't have a ring. He only had 2 playoff apperances.
I'll get those.
Yeah, see, this is where I should have done a little bit of research.
Nope, I'll get it.
KG had a defensive player of the year, but that was for the Celtics. So we're not counting that as his record towards the Timberwolves stats. He also went.
So KG made the playoffs in, it looks like in 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001,
Oh, shit.
2002, 2003, 2004, and then that was it. I could be wrong. I'm double checking this. Let me double check.
That's a lot
this.
more playoff appearances than I thought. Maybe I'm just thinking of the conference finals. Our Western Conference.
Yeah,
finals.
he only got to the conference finals once. I
Yeah.
think they were first round exits in most
Again,
of
let the
those
people
playoffs.
remember that I was born in 1996. So when this was all happening, I was a little child. I was a baby. So it could be recency bias as well. And I love KG.
All right, so yeah, KG led the Timberwolves to 8 consecutive playoff appearances from the 96-97 season to the 03-04 season. The Timberwolves advanced past the first round only once, though, in 2004 to all the way to the Western Conference Finals, where they lost to the Kings.
Okay.
Nope, they lost to LA. They lost to LA. They beat the Kings, lost to LA.
Ant's gotten a little bit further. Ant has
gotten to the Western Conference Finals twice, back-to-back years.
He's also almost been on the squad as long as KG was.
That's not true.
How long was KG on the Timberwolves?
KG was a Timberwolf for 12 seasons.
Oh, we're not even close. So we have so much time to work with. We have so much time.
In his fifth
Anthony
season.
Edwards.
Here's my
give me
deal.
your pitch because I'm just word gobbling.
Oh, I'm ready to kill you on this one. No, I think in time, I think in more time, Anthony Edwards will officially be the GOAT Timberwolf. Yep. But I think KG still got it right now because you had, I'm not even going to go off the playoff results because obviously Anthony Edwards has cleaned up there. But I would talk about the two-way impact that KG had. Anthony Edwards, he's not shabby on defense. KG was an all-pro, all-defense, 12-time all-defense, 9-time all-NBA. Anthony Edwards hasn't got there yet. So I can't put him in that conversation quite yet. On top of that, KG, 2004 MVP. Now, Ant's got All-Star Game MVP. I'll give it to him.
But so did KG that year. So did KG that year. 2003, 2004?
KG, MVP of the whole league. We ain't talking All-Star Game. We're talking the whole league. Now, I think that KG is still him. I think Ant has played in a harder era. Now, some people might be like, dog, you're crazy. Look, I grew up on this era. Like I said, KG is my GOAT. He is my favorite player of all time, my personal GOAT. But the 2000s, like, yeah, you had the Shaq Lakers and Kobe Lakers. You had the Spurs.
Yep.
But outside of that, what real competition were you playing out there in the West? There weren't a ton of, like, you could say the Kings. The Kings weren't all that. Like, let's not be, you look at the West now, you're talking about Wemby Spurs. You're talking about Nikola Jokic's Denver Nuggets. You're talking about Shea's Thunder. You're talking about Curry and the Warriors. You're talking about Bron and Luka on the Lakers. Like, the West right now is loaded. Nutty. I'm not even going to play it. Like, the West is insane. So I think Anthony Edwards is having to take the tougher challenge, and he's gone just as far as KG and done it twice. So I think there's a case for Anthony Edwards. On top of that, I was looking into their numbers, right? I did not realize, I know Ant's been balling, right? But Ant's been balling, my guy. Like, head-to-head stats, if you look at their peak season in points per game, KG's highest season in points per game in Minnesota was 24.2. Anthony Edwards is averaging like 28 points per game right now. Like, it's crazy.
But also, if you look, it's tough because they also play different positions. They play way different style basketball. I think like KG led the league in rebounding like 4 times in a row. Like, which also looking at that, we need to talk more about the rebounding champ every year. Nobody ever talks about that anymore. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, you ain't wrong.
It's kind of fun.
You ain't wrong.
But either way, like, Ant is not getting even close to double digits. The other I was looking at it because after All-Star break, I was kind of like, Ant might go off tonight. Like, Ant might go off. And he did drop 40. And I was like, is he going to get a double-double? Or a triple-double? And he's only had 4 triple-doubles in his entire career. And that's not saying anything, like, negative about it. But I was just saying, I was taken back. They just play different style of ball.
No, that's for sure. They play 2 completely different positions. So it's a little hard to compare apples to apples. That being said, KG's career stats for just Minnesota, 19.8 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 4.3 assists per game, 1.6 blocks per game, and he had 10 All-Stars, the 2004 MVP, and 8 straight player appearances. He also had an 89 plus in win shares, and he was a box plus or minus of 8. So that is not bad at all. He was consistently in the top 5 in MVP voting in all of the early 2000 years, and he won a Defensive Player of the Year, even though I think that happened with the Celtics.
Yep.
That being said, his playoff stats were 20.5 points per game, 12.8 rebounds per game, and 4.2 assists per game. Now, Ant is averaging between 23 to 25 points per game in the regular season. He's shooting about 38% from 3. He's had multiple 40-plus point games. He has gotten an All-NBA team, I believe, twice, if I'm not wrong there. But in the playoffs, dude, he just plays different. He is averaging 27 plus points per game in his playoff averages. His efficiency jumps in the postseason. He's gotten to the Western Conference Finals twice, and his true shooting percentage has improved every single season so far. So I definitely think all of that, and his usage rate is a lot higher than Kevin Garnett's, which is crazy to think because Kevin Garnett was like one of the only dudes. I'm not going to give too much credit to the Latrell Sprewells or the Sam Cassells. Like,
it was like
Ant's usage rate
got to the league. Like, he should have been playing 40 minutes every night. Just let him go.
Yes. So I think there's an argument to be had when it comes to KG and Ant, but I still think KG is on top for right now. Now I got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
If Ant wins an MVP, so they both have regular season MVPs, does that put him right over the top? Or is it still, you need a couple more years because of the longevity of KG?
Look, yeah, the longevity is a big part of it, I will say. And I will say, like, yes, if Ant decided to hang him up tomorrow, it would be KG all day. But I think we don't know what we don't know. And if the trajectory he's on, obviously, and that's obviously, this whole conversation is, the Jordan LeBron debate. There's no real answer. But if the trajectory he's on, he gets an MVP, and heaven forbid gets a ring, then he is over the top.
It's over. If he gets a ring, it's over. You don't even need the MVP at that point. If you get a ring, it's over. I would honestly argue if he just gets to the finals, it might be.
It might be. All we have to do is get to the finals. No good teams in the East. Damn.
Stop.
Just subliminals.
No, but if he gets to the finals, I just feel like, again, when's the last time we've seen a championship for men's sports? I'm going to give credit to the Lynx. They've been balling. They've gotten to the finals. Shoot, they were in the finals just last year. But, or not last year, the year before. Let me correct myself before some people get after me. But the last time a men's sport made it to the finals was before both of us were born. The Twins in 91, I'm pretty sure. The Wild have never been to a Stanley Cup.
Ever.
The Wild were formed in 2000. They got to the Stanley Cup, I think, after they moved to Dallas. I don't think the North Stars had been to one year. So literally, I think the last time any Minnesota men's team has been to the finals, the championship of whatever their sport is, was 91, and that was before either one of us were born. So if Ant gets to the finals, as much as KG has longevity, as much as he's got these, like, Ant will get those things over time. If he gets to the finals in the next couple of years and it's still underneath the longevity, he's there because he did something that no other Timberwolf or really Minnesota sports player in the last 30 years has done.
Yeah, that's exactly. That would put him over the top easy. That would put him on the all time. Some of the list we're about to get into, that would put him all time. The whole, like, the eras conversation reminded me. So I was watching this documentary on, might have been on Peacock, about the ABA and the NBA combining. And this dude made a good point, and it was such a good point, I can't remember his name. But he made a good point, and he was talking, there was some guy that played for the ABA, and they had a bunch of different guys on there talking about how cocky he was, how arrogant he was on the court. And he himself was like, no, it's not confidence. I'm cocky. I know how good I am or how good I was. Like, I was dominant. And he's like, he made a good point, or just a point that I hadn't thought about when you talk about the eras conversation. And he's like, people are always like, I'm not going to be, or I would never be able to compete in this era. And they don't realize that I wasn't training. We weren't lifting. We weren't on these regimens that players are on now. He's like, I would dominate in this league if I had 10 years of training for basketball. I did it without it. I did it in my backyard. Like, and it was kind of a good point I hadn't thought about before. Like the the things that athletes have now, if you would have put that in, even in the 90s, like it would have been crazy to see what some of these guys who, never got there, what they could have become.
Well, it's funny because I love Ant's aura. I love the swagger he brings to the court. I love the confidence. I love the charisma that he has. The funny thing is that his charisma, confidence, and all of that was what the 90s and 2000s basketball was. Like, that's what all the Kobe and his Mamba mentality. KG was one of the biggest trash talkers out there. Like, KG talked so sweet one night to Carmelo Anthony. He was talking about Carmelo Anthony's wife, and Carmelo Anthony was out here trying to wait for him by the buses, trying to beat his ass. Like, they talked so much trash, and KG was at the forefront of it. I know a lot of young folks didn't get to watch KG growing up. KG was that dude. You might look at the numbers and be like, oh, 19.8 points with the Timberwolves. That's not that great. Look, KG was that dude.
People forget. So straight out of high school too. He literally was
straight out of high school,
killing grown men before LeBron was doing it. Like these were adults, and he was just like, yeah, watch this.
KG was one that I could be wrong on this. Somebody can fact check me and drop it in the comments below. I'm pretty sure KG was one of the biggest high school prospects coming out. Like, when he was like one of the first guys that came out as a high schooler, and people were like, oh, he actually can hang as a high schooler. Like, I don't know if he was the first high schooler to come to the NBA. I don't know that for sure, so I'm not going to quote that. But I know he was one of the first ones to actually have, like, holy crap, this dude is a star, immediate impact, and all of that. That was KG. KG set the curve for the future Kobe Bryants and LeBrons and all that who came after him. I believe Kobe came a year or two after that. But either way, KG was that dude coming out of high school, coming out of South Carolina. That Southern twang, he had all of it, dog. He had all of it. And I love listening to his podcast. If y'all,
he moved to Chicago too. He's a Chicago kid for, like, that's where he grew up in Chicago, right? I think he's from South Carolina. And then
he came from South Carolina, and then I think he maybe moved to, like, yeah. But he didn't play around.
Oh, no.
Dude was scrappy.
And that's the mentality. Like, you talked about it too. Like, that's the. I mean, people, you can say what you want about Ant and that, like, arrogant attitude, but that's the kind of role model you want for these young players. Is not, you don't like you never catch Anthony Edwards saying, I want to be like anybody else but Anthony Edwards. And I think that's what I like about them, is that no matter what, whether you're arrogant ass or you're super duper humble and you're just modest and quiet, like your Mendozas of the world or whatever, it doesn't matter which is which. If you're playing the game and you're truly yourself, you're just not trying to be somebody else. I think that is an excellent role model. So, say what you want. If you don't like the way, Ant talks or the way KG talked and treated people while they were competing, it doesn't matter. They're just being their self. And that's what you should want in youth sports. That's what I always, that's what I'm teaching my kids. Like, just be you. Yeah. Whatever you're going to do, be you.
Yeah. I love it. I looked it up. He was 1 year earlier than Kobe Bryant, and it gave it to me. So yes, he came out of the Academy of Chicago at 19 years old, and he was the first player in 20 years to jump straight from high school to the NBA. So that's where I was kind of going with that one. It was like, it had been a long minute, because people were like, high schoolers aren't ready for this, and KG was like, bet. He was like, bet. Right. Hey, either way, both of them, Timberwolf GOATs, both will forever be two of the greatest players. Can't wait for KG's jersey to get retired here in Minnesota. I will honestly consider buying those tickets, and I know that the money will be stupid. So we'll find out how that all looks, but we're going to transition this to our Minnesota draft of the day, which will relate to maybe some of these guys too. We are going to be doing a draft for Minnesota sports icons. So the Minnesota sports icon draft is what we're going to do. Again, 5 rounds. We'll go snake draft back and forth, and we will do some honorable mentions after the fact. And I will remember this time to put the draft on Twitter and see if you guys can vote who had the better team. I didn't put last week's on, but I'm pretty sure Tristyn beat me down last week. So I got to get some revenge this week.
All right. Good luck. Good luck to you, sir.
All right. I'm giving you the call again. Heads or tails?
Tails. It never fails. It literally rhymes.
Dog, you're 0 for 2. 0 for 2 on tails never fails. I feel like you got to say it after. You got to say, I flip it, boom, and then you say
I don't understand. It doesn't rhyme. Let the record show also. You could just be telling me, I don't know. You could just be saying
no, it was heads both times. Uh, so last time I let you go first, and I'm going first this time because I need a dub, and I've got some clear guys I want to get, potentially gals I want to get on this team. So I'm going with the 101, and the first pick for me seems like a clear-cut pick because I think I can get who I want later, and it'll be a steal. Like, dang, he could have been the first pick. So I'm gonna play it that way. My first pick is Kirby Puckett. We talked about how we haven't seen a championship here in Minnesota in quite some time. Well, the last man to bring it home was the legendary Kirby Puckett. If you're looking at old school Twins jerseys that are coming in the stadium, Kirby's at the top of the list. He is one of one. He brought us home a World Series, and his passing hit the community like the Kobe passing hit the basketball community. Like, Kirby Puckett was that dude, so he's my first pick.
That is a great pick. That was my 101 too. I'm gonna have to pivot here. Then I'm gonna go to.
You get back to back, so you get back to back.
Oh yes, true. I do. This one's actually tough because I have a lot of names written down, but they're all equally. Well, I don't want to say equally, but again, there's not a lot of championships out here. But I'm gonna go with recognizable. Everyone knows, they are Minnesota. Give me 1-1. Randy Moss. Football is king. Randy Moss. Anytime you think about him, I know he had a run with the Patriots, but he's a Viking. You just see him in the purple. You see him mooning the Packers. I know you're salty right now because of what he did to you. But
hey, Randy was nice. I got a Randy story. My dad brought me to Vikings training camp when I was younger, when it used to be down in Mankato. I don't know if it's still in Mankato or not, but when it was down in Mankato, I would go out there with my dad. And this was in the heyday when we had Michael Bennett and Dante Culpepper, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, all them dudes. And I had a bunch of them sign this stuffed football, purple Vikings football, because your boy wasn't a Packer fan at that time. I just loved sports. I didn't have teams. I didn't pick my favorite teams till I was 10 years old. But anyways, went out to Vikings training camp, waited in line. Randy Moss's line was all the way to super crazy long line, right? I get up to the fence. I'm the next kid in line. And Randy was like, nah, man, I'm all done. And he didn't sign my football.
Oh.
So I am a little bit salty on the Randy Moss train. Now, look, still a fan of Randy, still a fan of all he did.
I'm surprised.
I'm glad he beat cancer. That was huge, too.
Your dad didn't say nothing? I'm surprised your dad didn't say nothing.
He didn't.
Because that's...
But it was crazy, dude. I was the next one up in line. He's like, nah, man, I'm all done. And I was like, damn, dog. I was probably 5 or 6. I was like, okay, Randy. Maybe that's why I'm not a Vikings fan. Maybe that's why I'm salty.
Honestly, you lost one. You should have said that. Fine. You lost one.
I'm going to Green Bay, damn it.
Oh.
I mean, Donald Driver ended up being my favorite Packer player.
I was about to say, I mean,
Randy, it could have been you.
This actually explains a lot. A lot. We're finding out.
All right, who is your second round pick?
Give me. Oh man, I have so many that I really want to say. Give me Herb Brooks. He wasn't a player.
No.
He wasn't a player, but he is from Minnesota. Multiple titles with the Gophers.
I wore this for a reason. Damn it.
Obviously, Miracle on Ice. Everyone in Minnesota knows who Herb Brooks is. And feels good to get that one.
Dog, I'm not going to lie to you. That was the exact one I was saying where I was like, could have took him one-on-one, but I was like, I think he'll sneak back to me, and then it'll be great. And this dude was like, no, he ain't getting back to you, dog.
Honestly, I had Kirby number 1-1, and everyone else, I was like, I can make an argument for a lot of these people. So it's just...
Oh, that hurt my soul. I was ready for Herb Brooks right here at this 2-2 pick, and just to been like, I already won this draft. Kirby Puckett, Herb Brooks, it's over. It's out of Vince Carter on you. It's over.
Oh,
now I got to think.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. That's how I was like, oh, Kirby was a good 1-1.
All right. I get a back-to-back here. And I am going to try and I'm gonna try to box you out here. I'm gonna take back-to-back MVPs. back-to-back MVPs. We're going to lock in Kevin Garnett. We talked about how he's my GOAT. I have to make sure he's on my team. And then I'm going to come back at you with another MVP, different sport. Adrian Peterson is on the squad.
Tough.
Adrian Peterson, make your way on over.
That is unfortunate. Those were actively my next two picks. Okay, I go back to back here. Give me, okay, if we're doing, I guess, champions, gotta put her in here. Maya Moore.
No!
Maya Moore, 4 titles in 8 years. Dynasty.
I thought I was going to get sneaky on something, dog. I thought I was going to catch you slipping, and he's like, no, I'm here. I'm here.
I don't play about these drafts. I don't play about these. And then my next one, this is where it gets tough, but I think you got to go Joe Mauer. I'm crushing it right now. I'm crushing it. You have to go Joe Mauer. Arguably, maybe one of the best hitting catchers, if not the best hitting catcher of all time. So, boom, baseball talk. That was baseball talk with Tristyn.
Yeah. Look, you hurt me. You cut me deep here. I was going with one of those two for sure on this next pick. I was like, let one of them fall. I was hoping it was Maya, to be honest. I didn't think you were going to snag me there.
I'm dialed on the drafts.
You are dialed
on the drafts.
You are dialed. And now I gotta balance between trying to win this draft and who gets honorable mention.
I know who you're thinking about right now because I think we're thinking about the same person.
I'm over here like shaking and shifting right now. And I gotta secure the bag. I gotta secure the bag. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw an obvious one, and I'm gonna say Anthony Edwards. Because I think that'll get me the kids vote nowadays.
You're going for the youths.
It's going to help me out. The youths will be happy with that one. And I'm going to throw one out here that I don't even think you were thinking about. And I think it's going to help my cause. It's going to match your first pick. No, it's going to match your second pick. I'm going Bud Grant of the Minnesota Vikings, the coach. Mm-hmm. The coach, Bud Grant. I think that one's going to help me out here. So you got one final pick here to wrap it up and try to seal a win.
He's on my list.
We will make sure that this draft is on the polls over on Twitter. But who you got to close up the draft?
I might play to the audience right now. Because, I mean, oh, man, I don't know. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the Gopher vote. Lindsey Whalen.
Okay. I was between Lindsey Whalen and Bud Grant, and I was like, you know what? I gotta get Bud in there, but Lindsey Whalen was the right pick. Because not only did she do it with the Gophers, but she did it with the Lynx. So she brought it home from Minnesota 2 different times. That was a great pick to wrap it up.
And she's from Minnesota, correct, as well?
Yeah.
I love that.
I thought I was gonna dust you in this draft. I thought I was gonna walk away with like Kirby Puckett, Herb Brooks, Kevin Garnett, Adrian Peterson, Maya Moore. I thought I was gonna get nasty on you, and you were like, "Dog, I did my research." You never do your research, but you did.
We were driving home today I was driving home from my oldest basketball game with him, and I was like, "Hey, I got to do a draft tonight." Start rattling off what Minnesota sports icons were. He was no help at all. He didn't know who Eric Decker was. I was like, I failed you as a parent. Yeah, I was like, I'm a bad parent. I almost called CPS on myself. This is bad. I was like, this is horrible.
All right. So I'm going to list these 2 teams off for the listeners at home just to make it a little bit easier. Dang, I'm kind of scared Tristyn might pull away on this one. It's definitely going to be close. It's going to be close. So we've got last name here. All right. So my team is Kirby Puckett, Kevin Garnett, Adrian Peterson, Anthony Edwards, and Bud Grant.
Okay, that sounds
and
good.
Tristyn's got Randy Moss, Herb Brooks, Maya Moore, Joe Mauer, and Lindsey Whalen. I think this is going to be good. I think I still might. I think you might get it.
When it's on paper, it looks really good together.
I think I might sneak this out, but I think you matched me step for step here, and it made it a lot more difficult. Let's talk about some honorable mentions to wrap up our podcast here. So, did you have other names on your list that you didn't get in on this draft?
Yes, so
that we definitely got to shout out.
I had ones that only I don't want to say only Die Hard, but mostly Die Hard. Bronco Nagurski. We can't ever forget him because he's just important to this podcast. People who listened like 2 years ago, Bronco Nagurski. Tom Kelly, he was the GM for the Twins, and actually he brought them from, they were like the worst in the league and then won it all the next year. So like all-time GM list. Who else did I have on here? I had Chris Carter on here. You know, he's kind of synonymous with Vikings football as well, obviously. I think that might be all I have like written down as far as.
All right, so I had a few. I had Torrey Hunter written down.
Oh my God.
Torrey,
how did I forget Torrey Hunter? I might have put him on
the
the list.
Twins, yes, sir. Fran Tarkenton.
Yep.
Recently, Bleacher Report just did a release of the top 100 quarterbacks in the history of NFL, and I think Fran Tarkenton made it at 13.
Oh,
above Bart Starr.
Ooh.
I don't agree. But Fran Tarkenton, definitely the most legendary quarterback for the Vikings. Mo Ibrahim, had to put him on my honorable mention list. So many program records. John Randall was another one. Good one there. I had some Gopher names to get in here. I also had Bronco, Sandy Stevens, and Tony Dungy, the first black quarterback ever, and then Tony Dungy, obviously,
Black Heisman too. Right?
Yep. No. The Heisman was I am slipping on his name right now.
Didn't Sandy win a Heisman?
No, he didn't win a Heisman. We only have one Heisman, but I can't. It was some Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith is the Heisman. I guess you could put him in here. Yep. Only Heisman, Bruce Smith. Khalid Al-Amin, huge in basketball for a lot of people. He didn't play for Minnesota. He was just like Minnesota high school basketball and all that, but he ended up going to UConn and was huge, and he came back, and he's the guy who, I believe, he started 43 hoops and a lot of different big things here in the state for the high school and AAU circuits. So I had him on here. And then Bobby Jackson. Bobby Jackson was my dog on the basketball team for the Gophers. And then the last one I had on the honorable mentions was Justin Jefferson. I just couldn't do it with all these other goats around, but Justin Jefferson definitely deserves some love. You snagged Lindsey Whalen from me. That one hurt.
Well, I was kind of placating because the Gopher audience, I mean, they're going to be like, Lindsey Whalen.
No, that was a great pick. It's Gophers and Lynx, so that you get like double the recognition.
That's what I'm saying. She was also
and a coach.
Was she on the team for all 4 of those championships too?
Either 4 or 3. Let's find out.
I mean, she is. The coaching career kind of got away from her a little bit.
It was tough.
So that's fine.
It was tough.
That's fine. I mean,
I just don't think she was ready for it at this time. I think if she would have got some seasoning first and then came and did it, I think
they probably asked her. They probably said, "Hey, we need you." So she didn't ask them.
Sure.
They said we need you, so she did her best.
Not even a question. 4-time WNBA champion.
Oh yeah.
5-time All-Star, 3-time first team, 2-time second team, assist leader 3 times.
Yeah.
GOAT. She was a GOAT. She was a GOAT.
And let me tell you, she could still play in this era too. She would play.
She was filthy, dog. She was filthy. She had handles. Yep. She was dropping dimes. Yep. Like Lindsey Whalen, one of my favorite human beings. I loved getting to like talk with her when I covered the women's basketball team when she was coaching. But yeah, that's going to wrap up our draft. I will post a link on Twitter asking who won the draft. But, you know, if you want to make the all snub team down in the comments below, feel free to do so. And what do you want to do for next week's historical Minnesota draft, Tristyn? What do you want to do? We could do landmarks. We could do foods. We could do outdoor activities. We could do mascots. What do you feel?
I like landmarks, actually. That sounds kind of fun. I think we could think of some ideas for that. Like landmarks and like attractions.
Let's do it. Landmarks and attractions. Minnesota landmarks and attractions will be the next Minnesota draft. So make sure you tune in next week. We'll have some Gophers talks. We'll have a pro segment, and then we will do Minnesota landmarks and attraction. We'll see you next time. Row the boat, Sky Umag, go Gophers as always. And please don't forget to hit subscribe. Let's grow this thing. Let's do it.